Seeing that it is 7 o'clock, we'll open the public meeting. For public input, the public input shall be limited to statements from the public relating to any issues with the jurisdiction of the Chelmsford Zoning Board of Appeals that are not currently a subject of a pending public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Public comment on any pending public hearing shall only be heard during such public hearings and shall be limited to a time of 3 minutes. Tonight, we have no administrative review. We have no new public hearings. We have no continued public hearings. We have new business discussion items. Do you think we should go into executive session first, Paul? Would you rather?
No, you should do it at the end.
So we have the LAA bylaw, potential subcommittee update. I think we're going to look to Glenn for that?
I have not approached any of the other boards, and for a couple of reasons, and I'd like to explain that and get the board, your opinion of that. One is that we have elections imminent, and that there are some members who are of these boards who may not be there in a month.
Good point.
And that the offices of those boards may change. And initially, my filling them out would go to the chairman of the board. So I thought it wouldn't be appropriate to do that.
And I think by the time we next meet, they will be changed.
Right, but
but
just
it won't be-
changed.
Yeah, so maybe we want to think
Right,
about
hold it
addressing
off
this
one more month after that.
in May.
Right.
We'll put that on the May agenda.
The second thing is even more detrimental, and that is, I don't know if anyone attended or watched the planning board meeting, which was last week.
I did not.
When there was a tremendous pushback by members of the audience about the MBTA right to assign areas and Chelmsford's involvement with that. I think that there's a negative atmosphere in town right now, that whole discussion is going to overweigh anything else that goes on. And I thought that was the second reason why we should wait for that to calm down a bit.
Sort itself out.
Right, because it's being brought up at the next planning board meeting again. And, you know, I watched the meeting, and it would seem, and this is my opinion, from the meeting that the planning board in general is against housing at this time. Not never, but at this time. The plans that they put forward, particularly the one that involved the West Campus and the Windermere senior properties that surround it on the one end, is designated from the standpoint of it's highly unlikely there would be any additional multifamily housing built in there. The residents of Windermere and its adjacent property were extremely vocal, saying that the government could take their property by eminent domain, demolish all those houses, and build multifamily housing. And it seemed very unlikely. But the reason that that area was chosen was that it was very unlikely in the near term that multifamily housing would be ever built there. Not to say never, but right now, no. And that in general, the areas that were chosen are areas that are developed. They're not areas where there's open land, where someone could come in, put a proposal together, and build multifamily housing. They chose areas where there was already a lot of development and would be difficult for someone to come in at this point. And so they would push that off for a while.
What wasn't the other caveat, that it had to be on an MBTA route?
Well, in theory, yes, but Chelmsford doesn't have an MBTA station per se.
No. We
But there were a
Chelmsford's considered
couple
an
of,
MBTA adjacent community.
we
whereas for
had
the
longer
towns
to
that are on the
decide,
bus route.
because we were not a MBTA property with transit stations in town.
There could
So
be
ours was a little bit
A
easier.
pass-through kind of thing. I
Right.
know Littleton Road was talked about pretty heavily.
But the long-term application of that is a negative pertaining to LAAs, because the state is getting pushback from cities and towns saying, we're not doing this, period. Particularly Milton was the leader of that. So if it pushes back enough, so the state lets it go, then their talk about having a statewide LAA law is not going to happen, because they just got killed on one already. So it makes cities and towns, in terms of what they do, more imminent than it would be if they said, well, let's wait to see what the state says. Because the state could say nothing because they just get totally pushback from all the cities and towns on the MBTA busing. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. But for all those reasons, I just thought we should just kind of take a back step at this time and just kind of
The
go with the
dust
flow.
settle.
And I don't know how anyone feels about all that.
I just heard from the governor, I think it was from the governor last week, speaking that regardless, they were not, at this point, they were, because there was 2 towns that were fighting back, that were required based on distance, and the governor was like, nope, we're not, you will do it, or you will lose funding. pretty
Right, that's
much.
what the state is saying, but what actually happens in the end?
I just, right
No,
at this point.
I know
they're
that, I had
switching a
heard
hard
that
stand.
the Chelmsford one was, no one expected much of a pushback because they were chosen for reasons that would, the building board felt would be beneficial to the town. And they got a lot of pushback. And I don't know if any of you got it, but I got a letter from one of the residents saying this is a bad idea and we're gonna fight it tooth and nail and so forth
I
and so
didn't
on.
get it.
Do we? But we're not in the required,
Probably.
We
they know
require it
doesn't-
because we're an adjacent community.
so we're not following in that same,
What's your
Ours is
question,
a little
Jamie?
bit less, we had 2 years to come up with something. The towns with train stations or bus stations had a year to do it. And ours is not as severe. But the town's attitude right now seems to be, we don't want any,
So just to add a little clarification to that, so Chelmsford is an adjacent community, so yes, we're not limited in terms of the radius of where these overlay districts can be designated. It can
The
be
entire
anywhere in
town
town,
is-
so we have a
yeah.
benefit in that regard. And it is an overlay district, just like all the others that we already have. But part of the reason why, just to piggyback on what Glenn was saying, that from watching the planning board meetings and hearing the discussions, part of the reason why they strategize this way is because this overlay district, if it's implemented, will be by right without planning board overview
yeah.
and approval. It's a by right by the state. So their strategy was to choose areas where it was unlikely to occur because they're owned by homeowners associations, they're private property, whereas any open space or any other area that could be redeveloped, planning board would rather leave those areas as is with their current zoning so that they can do review and comment and put conditions on certain things. So for what it's worth, that was a strategy.
But if it's state by right, I mean,
so it has a long way to go because if these towns that outright are defiant win.
I'm guessing there'll be a challenge from legal people in these different towns, and as they get more educated, I was amazed that Lexington wasn't up at arms for it. I mean, that's a long route there, that whole.
But if, you've got 350 communities in the state, and
351.
you're bound to get pushback by some. The question is if it was West Barnstable but Milton is a prominent one, and there'll be others similar that are, heavy-duty towns.
To clarify, the Attorney General's office is suing the town of Milton for its noncompliance.
Already?
yeah, that's, I thought that's what I heard, something similar.
So they are not just sitting back and allowing this to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have gone the other way when Milton would have sued them, and no.
The state was,
Wow.
last week, they were like, you're gonna do it.
Well, they're gonna try, I guess. So the strategy to wait a couple of months inside, do you want to put it on the agenda for the May?
May, yeah.
And then we can always
Well, we'll see where the atmosphere is, where it goes. I mean, the state seems to be trying to resolve this quickly before, if they can knock it down, the objections right now, then there are more and more cities and towns that will just say, look, we're not gonna fight.
We're not gonna win.
We're not gonna fight.
Make Milton the
But
example.
who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
Make Milton the example.
And I will say, I talked to an attorney from the Attorney General's office, and that is absolutely what they intend to do.
That's what it sounds like.
Once those, all the same, they'll all be the same arguments. Solve it in Milton and then move on.
Yep.
However direction it falls. Okay, so could I get a motion to continue the LAA bylaw discussion until a meeting in May, which I do not have a calendar in front of me?
I'll make a motion to continue the LLA discussion till May. What is it?
She meant
I didn't even
LAA.
bring that.
Isn't it?
LAA, limited access,
I
right?
said it right.
I thought you said LLA when you said it.
LAA,
See? You're not listening carefully.
in May. And it's not Jackie, it's Jamie.
Since when?
She changed it.
Oh, it does say
Who
Jamie up
seconded?
there.
I'm sorry.
You want a
second.
If we
second?
had a second, we're just arguing about it, whether it's
I was
LAA.
searching for my
Second
calendar.
by
Thank you.
Steve. All in
John.
favor?
Sure.
All right.
It's unanimous. Summer meeting schedule. Boldly suggest that we adjourn for August.
Yeah, the normal, August.
I know that Charlie goes to the south
I
of
gotta
France
go.
for the month, so
Do I have to start realigning my vacation time?
Our July meeting does fall on the 4th of July this year,
Thank
so
you.
obviously we won't be meeting that week. However, when we did just throw it out there in previous months, I did
meet on the
look up to see
11th?
if we could meet on the 11th, and I did reserve the room in the beginning of the year. So if you do want to meet on the 11th, we can do that. If you prefer to, well, if you're skipping August, I'm guessing you probably don't want to skip July. So I did go ahead and proactively reserve the room.
everybody
If
okay
you
with
so
the
choose
11th?
to.
Those
to do that.
vacations and such?
Nope, good.
Have a motion to schedule the July meeting for the 11th of July?
Get a motion
I
for
won't
that?
be here, but
Okay,
we have a new alternate. I
we do,
saw
who's unable to
something.
attend tonight, but will be
Correct.
there at the April meeting, I believe.
Mhm.
I'll be here. You're lucky.
Maybe. All right, so
I'll
what do we
make a
have?
motion.
Was that a motion to approve?
The summer schedule with the meeting in July 11th and taking no meeting in August.
Second by Steve again. Glenn? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Yeah,
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Enjoy Monaco.
yep, thanks.
We have the February 1st meetings, minutes to approve. Everyone had a chance to review them? Questions or comments?
I reviewed them like 40 times, and I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 1st, 2024.
Just one edit, I noticed.
Oh, it was
My
one
mistake. The top of the page, I actually had the previous month's date on it, so I'll just
January 4th,
edit that
2024.
to reflect that it was
I'm
the,
abstaining as I was not present for that meeting,
that's right. Okay.
but I did catch that when I was reading.
Okay.
Second, by Glenn.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, we'll go back to this.
January 4th.
The board is going to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing the pending litigation and potential settlement relating to the property located at 36 Bartlett Street, with no intention of returning to the public meeting except to adjourn. Our next meeting date is April 4th, 2024. I have a motion to enter executive session.
I make a motion to enter executive session.
Second? Glenn? All in
Second.
favor?
I believe you have to do a roll call.
Oh, we did a roll call with me?
Oh, the executive session has to be roll call?
The vote to enter into executive session has to be a roll call.
Yes.
And then any votes during executive
And
session
Charlie can
also
vote
have
for
to-
that as well, even though he's recusing.
Yes.
Okay.
So Glenn, do you approve?
I approve.
Charlie, do you approve?
Yes, approve, yes.
Jamie, do you approve?
I do.
Steve, do you approve?
I do.
I approve as well. Is that what we need?
You're now in executive session.
Okay.
Char-